I'm Adam Winoker. I'm the CEO and founder of ABW Compliance Services. So, ABW Compliance Services helps corporations and businesses with their safety programs, specifically having to do with substance use. We do on site drug and alcohol screening. We do education around drug and alcohol programs. We help companies build drug and alcohol programs. We help them make sure their policies align with regulations if they're underneath any kind of regulation. And we make sure that those types of policies and trainings that they might have to do all align with whatever the new law happens to be this week. I created the company back in 2018. I had just left a job that I had been at for about 15 years. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do next until I would get phone calls at 3 a.m. from a different airline asking me to go to the airport and cover a test, do an on-site test because their regular person wasn't available. Well, that once or twice happened, and I was doing some testing on the side in the FRA world, the railroad area, trains and whatnot, and I would get calls to do these tests, and I said, you know what, I better start a company just to put all the testing underneath a different moniker than myself. All of a sudden, 1 or 2 tests became nights and weekends at one airport, and then nights and weekends at 2 airports. Testing in Penn Station and doing a lot of rail, and then getting more airlines. And so all of a sudden, I had to start bringing in additional people to help with that test. So I kind of didn't create this company as a way to solve a problem that I was having, or as a desire to open up and do my own business. But there was clearly a big need in the New York City area for an independent contractor with a lot of experience in this area that could provide a very professional on-site testing experience with a lot of knowledge. And so in the time that I've had this company, in the time that I created it, 5 years, oh my goodness, at some weeks I have up to 15 employees going to different places for bus companies, trucking, airlines, rail. We've done some school testing, we've done community center testing, all on site. And then as things change in the industry, where they start adding new forms of testing that we can use, and as things change in the laws, where new substances are now legal, like marijuana and THC products, it's become a very interesting industry. Whereas it used to be a simple black and white, you have a positive test, you're out the door, it's now all sorts of shades of gray. So this company that has grown up around me is now a lot more integrated than anything I probably could have done on my own. So I'm really glad that I'm here and that I have the skill set that I can then use to help others who don't know what to do when it comes to things like substance use, when it comes to workplace relationship with their employees. And we're starting to expand into areas that really talk about mind-body connections and wellness. So we can, instead of just addressing people once they already have a substance issue, we can go back further and help them understand who they are, and also help them avoid unsafe or unhealthy coping mechanisms. And that's something that hasn't really been explored before, which I'm really excited to bring forward. Well, a typical day for me, I'm usually getting up. Regular time would probably be around 6 a.m., spending a little time with my dogs, trying to get over whatever anxieties or issues I might have personally, and go through my morning routines like anyone else. And then I start looking at the emails that we get, and my operations manager will check the emails to see what's on the schedule for the next day. We see what tests were completed the day before. I check for any updates to any laws or regulations. I look to see what's going on in the industry. And I try to make sure that the information that's coming out gets dispersed to my clients to make sure they're aware of what's going on in this world, because there's a lot of moving parts. Maybe not everywhere, but instead of spending most of our time doing on-site testing and professional on-site testing, which is something that right now seems hard to find, I'd like to expand, like I mentioned, I'd like to expand from just doing on-site testing and helping companies build out a substantial workplace substance use program into really building out a workplace's wellness program and the relationship between the employer and the employee. Over the last couple of years, I've really experienced and really understood that there's a difference between how an employer treats HR or uses HR and how an employee hopes to get HR, but understands where things are going. A lot of people understand human resources to mean that the humans are being applied as the resource. It's a cog, it's a cash on hand. You use it till you drain it and you send it out the door. Whereas human resources should really be resources applied to humans, resources for humans. Let's start helping people when they have issues. Let's help them with their mental health. Let's help them with understanding where they might fall on a divergent spectrum. So if they happen to have ADD, or if they happen to have autism, or if someone feels like they are not being recognized. So any diversity, this falls into this area too. If there's inclusion issues, all of these differences that people have that make a workplace great, whether it be, like I said, on an ADD spectrum or autistic spectrum, or if they're BIPOC, that make the workplace diverse, also comes with challenges. Anybody who feels less than or different or ostracized is at a higher risk of developing an issue with a substance. And we want to try and mitigate that. So if we give services to clients that they can deliver to their employees, that really rebuilds the trust between an employee and an employer, then we might be able to reduce the number of people who need help with substance use. One of the benefits that we have of being in this time is we have connections to people all over the world. And the technologies that are coming out right now are just so much more advanced than they were previously. There are services now where we can check somebody's impairment on the job in under 5 minutes. And it doesn't even need to be impairment by substance use. It could be someone who was up all night and they're just not clear and focused. There are VR technologies that can check for impairment. Some companies are getting close to doing a marijuana breathalyzer, so you can check somebody's level rather than checking for something that's been metabolized in your system. And I can go into more details about that, but that could take up quite a bit of time. There's a lot of shifting going on in the industry, so I think that's pretty exciting that people are starting to come around to this and understanding that the wellness of their employee is not to separate a work-life balance. It's the same person. It's really to help them become a whole person everywhere.